We are now just days away from Senior Bowl week beginning, and I want to break down some of the players that I am the most excited about to see how they perform at the Senior Bowl and to see how that'll rise or make them fall a little bit as they go throughout their practices, drills, and then, of course, the actual game itself. So let's start at the running back position for this video. We're going to look at 5 running backs that I'm keeping an extra close eye on at the running back position. So let's start off with the guy that everyone fell in love with towards the end of the season here, Cam Skattebo. This kid just had a monster season. Over 1,700 rushing yards, 21 touchdowns, then added another 45 receptions, 605 receiving yards, and an additional 3 touchdowns. You're meaning that he has over 2,300 yards on the year. The kid was a monster. He is really, really difficult to bring down. Yeah, maybe he doesn't have the long speed that some of these other guys have, but he just has some instincts that you cannot teach. I'm really curious to see him against other backs in this class that he gets to compare against them, and I'm really curious to see how he comes out. Let's move over to Devin Neal. Devin Neal, a player that maybe isn't as big of a name as some of the other guys in this class, but he's a really interesting prospect. He's listed at 5'11". I've heard a lot of people say he's going to be more like 5'9", 5'10", but he's at 215, so he's very thick, very well built for his position and for his height. He had 1,200 rushing yards on the year, another 254 receiving yards, 16 touchdowns, and man, he just gets the job done. A very professional type runner. He's got not amazing long speed, but think of the Doug Martin type of player. That's a guy that he could become at the next level. So I'm really curious to see how things play out for him. This guy is one that I think everybody is going to be keeping a close eye on, and that's Ollie Gordon. Ollie Gordon, after 2023, won the Doak Walker Award, had a monster 1,700-yard rushing season, but then comes on this year and just has 880 yards. Definitely not what you wanted to see, but the second half of his season was a lot better than the first half. Big game against BYU with over 100 yards and 2 touchdowns, a good game against TCU, and another one against Texas Tech, where in both of those games, he rushed for over 120 yards and had 4 touchdowns combined in those 2 games. So this is a player that I think has been getting a little too much hate. The hate's gone too far, and I think he still could be a very good running back at the next level. 6'2", 225. He's definitely got the size to do it. Can he put it all together here on Senior Bowl week to elevate his stock? Another guy that really did much better in the second half of the season than he did in the first half. He had a game, he dealt with some injuries and stuff like that, but against Cal, only 42 yards. Against USF, 31 yards. Like, not a lot there, but Damien Martinez really, really picked it up in the second half of the year. Big game against Florida State. Huge game in their bowl game against Iowa State, putting up over 179 yards on the season. He did just barely eclipse that 1,000-yard mark, and he did it at only 159 carries, so still a lot of tread left on the tires. 6 foot, 232, and has pretty good feet for a guy that's built that big. So I'm excited to see how he does at the Senior Bowl, and a sneaky receiver as well. So he has a fairly complete game, and I'm excited to watch Damien Martinez. The name that you might not recognize, even if you've been looking into this class, but a guy that I really want to keep an eye on at the Senior Bowl, and that's Bhayshul Tuten. That's right, Tuten. This guy for Virginia Tech is not a household name, but he put up just under 1,200 yards and 15 touchdowns just on the ground. Then he put up another 2 touchdowns through the air. Big plays are definitely part of his game. 5'11", 209, and it's tough because I know that the ACC is not what it once was, but it seemed like in some of their biggest games, he really came to play. So I'm really curious to see how he does at the Senior Bowl. I think Tuten is one of those names that's going to rise the closer we get to draft time.